Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. How are you guys doing today? Get my chat up. Good to see you all in here. Had some great trade setups yesterday, so I've recapped them in our prep this morning so we can go over those, but a lot of good trades happening. Overall, looking to, again, be trading with that trend since today is an outside day. So since we broke the prior session's low, looking for price to continue to move to the downside, which either means one of two things: looking to take those breakout trades to the downside, or waiting for price to pull back and rally back up into our sell zones. So we've seen a little bit of a pullback in the markets now. If you guys kept an eye on that 8:30 a.m. Eastern time report that came out, that's going to be what's in the news this morning. U.S. trade deficit in goods narrows for 5th consecutive month. So saw that report come out, markets started rallying higher. So keep that in mind. Again, always keeping an eye on those reports as they can impact the markets. So good to see everyone in here. Also, a lot of reports coming out later today, as well as Fed chairman speaking. So keep an eye on those as well. As far as what's coming ahead, we have pending home sales index. That's going to be at that 10 o'clock reversal time. We have Fed chairman speaking several times this morning. The times to keep an eye on: 10:10 a.m., 10:15 a.m., and 11 a.m. Eastern time. And then we have that oil report coming out at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. So even though we're seeing the markets pull back and rally right now, still need to keep an eye on where we have our sell zones, since it is an outside day and the higher time frame trend is to the downside. A lot of things to keep in mind. Sell zones have been updated since I believe we formed some new ones on that recent move to the downside. Buy zones, as always, are going to be used as target prices, looking for either, again, targets or one-to-one bounces off those areas. But since they're going to be a little bit more counter trend, we don't typically want to stay in those too long. Also, breakout trade opportunity, didn't find a whole lot, but natural gas looking to trade with that trend to the downside. Natural gas prices moving lower, potential short opportunity below 6.525. So 1 hour time frame, was able to find the 3 touches, looking to trade with that trend lower. So from our live trading room yesterday, we had, looks like that breakout trade to the downside here on the S&P. This was from our prep screen. Okay, so this was after our session. Did anyone grab the breakout trade opportunity or any of the longer short trades from the prep screen yesterday? We had some zones hit, I think, or some breakout trades from our prep screen, and then some other trades that hit from our recap screen as well. So we had the S&P short and more of that trend trade on that one, since we were looking at that short trade. So price finally took out that support area and we got that move to the downside. No, Cindy? Yeah, so good ones to still keep an eye on, though. Even though they panned out, we did form some new sell territories. So waiting for those pullback moves, we may be able to splice in by waiting for price to intersect with some of our sell zones that we have. So here's S&P, just showing you guys that breakout happened. Here's another one on the S&P. If Dingo is in the room, I think he's the one that called out the 1 minute leg base zone. So I'm curious if he got that one. But we set this up right before we left our session yesterday on the 1 minute time frame, just looking at how that transition started to change from more of an uptrend to a downtrend. 1 minute, we were able to find the 3 touches. Price broke, identified that 1 minute leg base group of candles. Price came back up into it and then ultimately had that nice run to the downside. So really great setup on that one. Also had that on the NASDAQ as well towards the end of our session, as price was coming back up into that area, looking for that 1 minute leg base group of candles above that prior support level. And then again, we had that nice move to the downside. So if you need help with this, Mastering the Charts is coming up. That's going to be next month, October 15th, 16th, and 17th, which is going to be on our website. But we go all over, exactly where we look for with drawing our buy and sell territories and a lot of the illustrations that we do in the live trading room. And then last we had Russell hit from this was our prep screen, 1695.7. 1702 stop. We can see 2 minute zone right there. Again, price intersected with our 2 minute zone and had a nice change of direction right there. So a lot of really great trade setups. Again, that's why I always encourage you guys to just make sure that you're taking screenshots of these and marking your charts when you get them, and keeping an eye on these setups even after our sessions finish. Then we'll recap at the end, go over our open buy and sell zones, buy zones, target prices, sell zones, more trading with that trend. So going back over just another quick announcement. I mentioned this yesterday, but seeing a bunch of you guys sign up. So make sure that if you haven't already, sign up for the Tuesday, Wednesday live trading room recap sessions. We're doing that again next month since you guys are getting a lot of value out of those classes. Those are every Tuesday and Wednesday from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time. So after the live trading room sessions, go into more detail of recapping what happened in the live trading room, as well as mastering the charts review. That's on our website. If you go under upcoming events, you'll see it there. It's going to be the live trading room and mastering the charts recap sessions Tuesday and Wednesday on our website. And then I'll post the link in the chat for you guys as well. Hey, Terry, I had trouble with the portal signing in for live trading room October. Let me look into that. And let me see, I think I saw an email from you come in, but let me double check to make sure everything is working. Okay, so going into Market Watch, Yahoo Finance. Again, the big thing is just that that report came out. So again, those reports come out, we see volatility in the markets. You can see some of the other main articles. The strong dollar is making European travel very attractive right now. Let's see, Treasury yields reach 4%, then retreat. Why a rising 10-year Treasury yield is rattling financial markets as it briefly tops 4%. So again, taking an eye on everything, just keeping an eye on these to understand whether they're going to cause more fear and more volatility in the markets, or whether people may get a more bullish perspective off of the news. So we can also see stock futures sink. The 5 places to put your cash right now. So overall, a little bit more on the bearish side of things. So we'll see what the markets are going to be doing today. Econo day, again, just keep an eye on reports that come out prior to our session. I mentioned we had international trade in goods. That was at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Now moving forward, we've got, let's see, starting here, pending home sales index, 10 a.m. Eastern time. State Street Investor Confidence Index, 10 a.m. Eastern time. So we have a couple Fed chairmen speaking. Powell's going to be speaking at 10:15 a.m. Eastern time. So towards the end of our session, make sure you guys remind me of that one. And then oil report at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. And then a couple other Fed chairmen speaking after our session as well, 11 a.m. Eastern time, and then 2 p.m. Eastern time. So trend we'll take a look at. It's getting pretty high now above that 1.5 mark in the pre-market. We'll want to see if there is that inverse correlation with the markets going down right now and the trend moving higher. That's where we're looking for that inverse correlation to look for some buying coming into play. If the markets are rallying right now and the trend is high, potentially we could see a short squeeze in the markets with that buying, and prices may continue to move higher. So we'll look at that. See, jumping out to oil right now. Very nice. Did anyone get our 10-minute zone that we had on oil? So we talked about this one yesterday. Looks like it just dipped into it, coming out right now. So some of these zones I like just because, again, looking for sell zones in the context of more of a downtrend. Just notice that right below it, it looks like we do have a buy zone that price just missed. So I would be cautious on necessarily not taking a breakout to the downside at this point until we start to get below this buy zone here. We'll see what happens with our 10-minute zone right here. 10-minute time frame, we can see this one was formed on higher volume at the beginning of the regular trading session on Monday, and price is changing direction. And then looking left, have a couple other ones. We can see that we have formed several sell territories as prices continue to move lower. So really getting a feel for what the trend is right now, trend leaning more to the downside since we are forming these sell territories, and price is breaking those support levels and moving lower. So we want to keep an eye on, again, trend. If we are forming these sell territories and zones within those sell territories, likely the trend is going to be leaning more to the downside. Okay, let's take a look at what's going on with the equity index futures right now, which I am curious about. So from our prep screen, we know that it is an outside day, which is good for us because we're looking to, again, trade with that higher time frame trend, price making lower highs, lower lows. See a lot of red candles lately as far as the past several days, and continuing to take out those low points. So we're just looking to trade with that trend and take those moves to the downside. Necessarily picking the bottoms going to be elevated risk. We can also see on the S&P, we took out this major support level back in June of 2022. Price broke below that. So anticipating price to continue to move again with that trend to the downside, especially after taking out this major support area over here. Again, daily chart, outside day, we're looking for those trending opportunities, breakout trades to the downside, or looking for pullbacks up into our sell zones. See 10-minute time frame, looking for those sell zones. You can see price came up into a zone we had from the overnight session. We got a bounce off that, and now price is continuing to move higher. I'm looking for price to intersect with some of those zones created on higher volume during the regular trading hours. That's going to be, let me just zoom out more so we can see here's where we had that support level, where we had the breakout yesterday. 4-minute zone, if you drop it down to the 4-minute, you'll find the leg base right above that support level, 3698.5. Stop at 3713.5. And then if we start to form the 3 touches on the bottom side, we may look to splice into that move to the downside by taking a breakout trade lower. Just don't have the 3 touches quite yet. So right now I'm waiting for price to come into our sell zone. If price comes into that and the stocks are moving to the downside, we're seeing IBM move lower, Goldman Sachs move lower. It's the quarter hour or 10 o'clock reversal, all those different things I'm going to be keeping an eye on for today. Let's also see if futures are overbought or oversold. So I've got the Dow 30 stocks over here. We have 1, 2, 3 Dow stocks down over 94 cents. And we have 1, 2, 3 up over 94 cents. So -3 plus 3 is 0, times 2 is 0. Futures are positive 0.25 right now. Actually 0 now. So our futures overbought or oversold right now. If the cash market is flat, 0, and futures are trading at positive 0.25, does that mean the futures market is overbought or oversold right now? Who knows that answer? Any thoughts? So it's a good one to keep an eye on, especially for once the market opens, with cash being flat, futures being, it's about flat right now, given if it's positive 3 points to negative 3 points, yeah, Nick's got it, then it's typically balanced. So we may see some more volatility once the market opens. So just anticipate that. Normally it's good when we're way oversold or way overbought, price intersecting with our buy or sell zones. When we're balanced like that, just expect some additional volatility. So great job, Nick. Good morning, Daniel. Good to see you in here. Wasn't expecting you till next week. How's the holidays going? So haven't missed a whole lot, just a lot of economic reports today. Also, futures and cash are balanced now, so keep that in mind. Again, I was just mentioning how we're typically looking for futures to be way overbought or way oversold, but once we're balanced, just may act more like an inside day, I would imagine, once the market opens, with cash and futures being balanced. Okay, first round over. Good to have you here. Hope you've been enjoying it. So that's S&P, smaller time frames, waiting for price to come into our sell zone. or those breakout trades to the downside, looking for buy zones, elevated risk because the trend is to the downside. Going over to NASDAQ. So I left this on here. NASDAQ did drop into our 4-minute buy zone. Did anyone use this as a target price or a entry to go long for a bounce or a 2-to-1? This one I think was from our prep screen as well. So we may need to update this one. Let's see, NASDAQ 11,155. Yeah, that's going to be this one right here. So if you guys had this one in your charts, you can see it's working right now. We're getting a bounce out of that area back up. It is still an outside day though, where we broke that prior session's low. So I left it on there just to show you guys where the unfilled orders are. This is going to be more of a pivot point into this zone here. So if price does start coming back down, I'm not looking to take breakout trades into a buy zone. We would wait for price to break through this entire zone completely once it gets below 11,119.5. So here's where there could be some unfilled buy orders at. So we saw price change direction here. There may still be some more unfilled orders at this point. Outside day, looking for price to come back up into our sell zone, 3-minute time frame, looking at 11,441.5. Stop at 11,498. And these were zones that formed during yesterday's session, I believe just after our live trading room, as we started seeing price pull back and break out to the downside. So again, we'll be looking at what the stocks are doing, looking for if the stocks are going to start moving lower and price is intersecting with our sell zones. That's going to be nice to start combining those two odds enhancers together. Let's see, Russell. So similarly, outside day, we broke that prior session's low, looking for more trending opportunities to the downside, or waiting for those pullbacks and rallies up into our sell zones. So S&P did take out this main pivot low point. The Russell has yet to break it. It looks like we're still holding that area at this point. So just another thing to keep in mind. Dropping down to the 15-minute time frame, 3-minute leg base group of candles just above formed on higher volume during yesterday's trading session, 1688.6, stop at 1697.8. Again, I'm not seeing a clear picture of where we have the 3 touches on the bottom side. That's where you may want to be flexible, turning the time frame down to potentially find a way to splice in like what we did yesterday and getting finding the 3 touches on the smaller time frame and finding our 1-minute sell territories. So again, 3-minute zone right here. We'll keep an eye on the quarter hour, 10 o'clock reversal, and see if price intersects on those times as well. Lastly, the Dow. So similar picture across the board with all the equity index futures. You can see Dow is another one where we did take out this major pivot low point a couple days ago, breaking lower. It is an outside day, so we're looking for those momentum moves to the downside. 10-minute time frame, we're getting a little bit of a pullback move, but we'll look for price to intersect with our sell zones to be trading with the trend. Sell zone 29,505. Stop at 29,611. And then again, on the bottom side, not seeing in any areas where we have the 3 touches of support yet. So really just waiting for those pullback moves into our sell zones at this point. Indexes, they all seem pretty correlated as we're going through that pre-market routine, taking a look at everything, all of them moving more to the upside since that economic report came out, but keep in mind higher time frame trend is still to the downside. So equity index is moving higher, bonds also moving to the upside now. So bonds moving higher, we'll want to look for that inverse correlation. So that either means equity index is moving to the downside, or bonds moving to the downside, and looking for that inverse correlation between the equity index futures and bonds. internals trend. So currently we see that the equity indexes are moving to the upside. Trend right now is 1.5, so it's getting pretty high, which could mean, since we're seeing equity indexes moving higher and the trend higher, this may be some buying into the rally or potentially getting those short squeezes and price moving higher. So keep that in mind. If there is buying, we may see some breakout trades to the upside, but again, keep in mind the higher time frame trend is to the downside. So we want to still be looking for ways to splice into that trend. And then lastly, pre-market indicator. So we had a gap up yesterday. Now we're back down to a gap down in the pre-market, more downticks and down volume. So looking to trade with that trend, getting more bearish sentiment in the markets. The one thing that we want to keep an eye on for today is all those economic reports coming out. They may impact the markets, especially once Powell starts speaking in a little less than an hour. Also, a couple other reports coming out that we'll keep an eye on for today. Alrighty, thank you guys. Jeff, it's all yours. We'll take a look at what he's got on his charts for today. Thank you guys.
All right, good morning, everybody. All right, so every once in a while I get a chance to brag about the prep screen zones. Now, how many of you guys are starting to track these and starting to see? I mean, not all of them work as far as getting a big move, but a lot of them work getting those 1-to-1, 2-to-1s off there. So you can have something to participate in the overnight session if you manage your expectations, okay? This is a beautiful zone that was spotted on the NQ, 155, 119. That was on the prep screen from yesterday. Just want to go back and look at that. I mean, take the time when you start seeing the prep screen zones, just to look to the left, turn the time frames up, turn the time frames down, so you can get the right picture on that. Okay, take the time and see what Caitlin's looking at. Okay, see what she's looking at, see if she's doing the high quality zones with multiple time frames, large high volume zones versus low volume zones, and also double check if the zone has been used. Okay, now sometimes if it's a brand new fresh zone, those can have a little bigger bounce. If price has used it a couple of times, okay, then maybe it's not going to have as big of a bounce. But each time you take and document that a prep screen zone worked, whether it's from what I'm looking at or what Caitlin's looking at, go back and study that picture. In recent consultations over the last few days here, I'm realizing that many of you are still trying to shortcut the system. Okay, you're trying to just go for a zone and you're hoping it'll work out. Okay, in the live trading, or sorry, in the mastering the charts recap and review sessions that we do Tuesday and Wednesday, there's a lot of learning reinforcement going on in those. Okay, and I want you to, you know, if you're struggling, this is probably going to be the easiest route that you have in order to refine that, okay, and get away from the struggling part. A couple of things on the equity indexes that I want to point out. Okay, is looking at what's ahead. Okay, now we do have a sell territory within a dead space. Okay, and there's combinations of things that we're talking about. Okay, now how much reliability would I put on this as a supply zone to take a long-term trade? Okay, if I wanted to stay in the trade and ride it for a little bit. Okay, we know that supply zones within the dead space are often just short-lived, 1-to-1. Okay, as price started breaking that Globex high, okay, which was a little bit earlier, and it's still the Globex session, okay, but it did break out of that resistance area, got a small pullback in there as the market shuffled around. But price is venturing now into a dead space, and there's a pocket of points, and there's also a sell territory, a small one within that dead space. Now, how do we respect that sell territory? Well, we recognize it's there. It's a profit target. If you took a breakout trade and you're looking for 3708 as a profit target, okay, that is one thing. But we also realize that many times these zones do not hold for a major change in direction, okay? So a profit target, and just kind of knowing the difference between the zones. Now, this zone here was, let's see, a higher volume zone created during the regular trading hours, okay? So as you gather all those different pieces of information about that zone, its location, the higher time frame, what it's between resistance and support, okay? All of this is just information to how we would gauge and manage our risk going into that, okay, and our expectations. So just want to, say great job on those prep screen zones, and I encourage you all to be plotting those out there, okay, and use them for some overnight trades, okay. All right, so as we're looking for price to move up 3708 on the S&P, a break above the Globex high, okay, we're not outside the expanded range of that, okay. So today's target, I'm looking for roughly about 3771, okay. If price starts to make it through these areas, and we do have those pocket of points, and as we reveal that there is a sell territory and a zone within the sell territory, okay. And then, of course, once we start getting up higher, we have a lot more opportunities with those dead spaces in play, okay. So we're watching that one. We do have some smaller time frame zones. Caitlin was pointing out there are 2, 3, 4 minute charts. You'll find them at the origin of this move as the economic reports came out. Okay, so there is the opportunity of price coming back down 36.43, 36.34. Price did break outside the prior day's trading range, so that changes our environment. Okay, it's not an inside day. Hopefully, it will be more of a trending market condition. Okay. Yeah, Terry, and great job on contributing into the Discord group. I mean, there was some really great pictures that you've been putting in, and Cindy as well. You guys have really done some great jobs in there. All right, so, and appreciate it, because it does help. And it helps you because you're starting to see that your zones are working, but you may not yet be taking trades, okay? And that's okay. It's part of the learning process. Let's see. Okay, so daily chart on the S&P. Okay, I do want to point out, I had this all colored up a little bit better. Okay, but we have made that average distance away from the 50 moving average. So 438, 447, 481, 481. Okay, and now we're at 429. So we're roughly in that range or average distance away from that 50 moving average before we start seeing a reversion back up. Now, the move back up generally lasts about 9 days, and it's about 8% move back to the upside. And if we look back, we can see that this move up was about 8.5, 10, 7.5, and we had something over here about 8%. So the average about 8.5% move up. And if we start looking a little closer at the chart, you can see that there's a place where price dropped, it based and then dropped. Okay, so that would be our target over the next 9 days. Next 9 days, if we look at the calendar, is going to put us right in to that first week of October. Okay, so what does that all mean? Well, the first week of October is when we start doing earnings season. Okay, so there's a lot going on with the earnings season, with all of that coming up as we start October. Now, historically, October is a low point for the markets. Okay, looks like the markets are now open. And of course, my friends' screens are all freaking froze up again. Dang it. Caitlin, can you grab that email from Dale? I did post a link in the Discord room. And just as a reminder, everybody, if you're not getting an email link or getting the link for the live trading room, just remember that we are making some updates to the website. So there might be a couple of little hiccups along the way. Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay, so that's S&P, just kind of laying out the land. We are flat. We're going to keep an eye on. Right now we have, let's see, about 10 Dow stocks positive, 4 Dow stocks negative. So that leaves 6 positive, times 2 is 12. So we're still about 10 points oversold on the futures relative to cash. Okay, so oversold, we're looking to go long, and overbought, we're looking to go short. Okay, and we've already documented that we're outside the prior day's trading range, but we can see that Goldman Sachs gapped up, IBM did drop down. Okay, so just keep a close eye on that. All right, so let's flip over to the NQ. Okay, getting a quick look at the NQ. We are also in that pocket of points. We're in that dead space. Should price start to break more to the upside. We did have a 1-minute zone in a small sell territory, which was in the overnight session, and prices are pulling back into those zones as we pointed out earlier. Okay, so we're seeing just a little bit of that shuffle as the equity indexes are pulling back. Okay. Dow has pulled back into that zone. Okay. So this is kind of the decision time. Is this going to hold? We got 29,203, 29,105. So it's a pretty big zone there. And I even went down to, I think, even a 1-minute chart just to get the leg base group of candles. So it is a little bit of a stretch if you're going to participate in that. Let me adjust where my Globex high is on this one. And we come back to the NASDAQ and redo that. Oh, the NASDAQ's already still set. NASDAQ did hit that zone, 11,266, 11,223. And I believe that was either on a 3 or 4-minute chart. And it's just slowly things are starting to unwind. Okay. Facebook starting to rally. Looks like with Facebook coming up, we need help from Amazon and Microsoft and Tesla to get a bump to the upside. Once they start to show any signs of green, okay, we might see that that opportunity to splice into the NQ. Okay. All right, so we had Dow. And Russell has not yet made it in. Okay, in the past, Russell has been one of those leaders as far as helping us with correlations and market direction. Russell, also, we have the Globex high right up in here, adjusting that. We still have a little bit of pocket of points to go. We have a supply zone and a sell territory within a dead space, okay? So I'm going to respect that as a profit target, not necessarily where I'm going to look to take a trend change, okay? So depending on what market conditions are with this sell territory and the zone within that sell territory inside a dead space. So there's a combination of things that we're looking at. How do we put more, how do we put more emphasis on one zone over another? How do we manage expectations? How do we stay in trades longer? Okay, it's by choosing the zones that are in the right location that help us anticipate a trend change versus just a little pullback and then continuing to go. The other odds enhancer that we will have is what time does price arrive into that zone within the sell territory. Okay, if it arrives here on the quarter hour, of course I'm going to take my profit. Okay, if it arrives there before the quarter hour, I may sit through the little wiggle until it breaks and goes through. Okay, so kind of putting those little pieces together to help us visualize what is it I'm going to do with this sell territory up here. Okay, it is a sell territory. It is a zone within a sell territory in the context of a higher time frame downtrend, but that dead space kind of overrules a few things. Okay, it doesn't dictate what you're doing. It just says, hey, things may not, depending on what time price arrives in that zone. Okay, what is the action I'm going to take? Short-term pullback, take a profit, or am I going to wait it out just a little bit longer? Okay. Crude oil. Okay, crude oil is still in a larger time frame uptrend, but on a smaller time frame, 5-minute chart, we have made several places where we have buyers potentially coming in. Okay, so that area is, we're starting to see that turn right here. And on the larger time frame, just to give you a little more of a picture of that, on the larger time frame, we are starting to make a fresh accumulation of orders. Okay, as we can see right here, price basing around, and we would look for potentially a breakout above $80.40 on crude oil 480-minute chart. Okay, as a fresh accumulation of orders is being formed. Now we've seen this picture right here at the end of a down move. We saw it right over here, and price broke and made a nice little move higher. Okay, with the same picture, there was another one right in here where we made a fresh accumulation of orders after a move down. And as we keep looking at these small areas of fresh accumulation of orders after a move down, there have been significant moves up. Okay, so we want to keep an eye on what that picture looks like on a larger time frame, but we also want to be prepared, and see it start to build on a smaller time frame. Okay, so on a smaller time frame, we're looking in that area, and we found several areas where we've had consolidation of sellers coming in, pushing price back down, and then price going through those sellers. Okay, so now price is coming back down to find some of those buyers. We have several little areas. We have smaller time frame buy territories, but we can see there's 3 buy territories on a small time frame all mapped in together. Okay, so either one of these could work. Okay, you could get 87 out of 100 times, get a 1-to-1 move off of each one of these zones. Okay, which is not bad. Okay, but knowing where that zone is on a larger time frame and knowing what this buy territory is on a larger time frame, okay, can help us visualize, should I stay in the trade longer? Should I keep making attempts at getting a long trade, even though the higher time frame trend is down? Yeah. Okay, so just keeping a close eye on it. Nat gas, you should be trading the November contract now. Okay, and that one just rolled over. Looking at the continuous chart, a break above 6.863. Okay, is 6.86. Okay. So we're starting to build that area of resistance, but it's not yet quite complete. We need 3 touches. Well, these markets are starting off kind of quiet, aren't they? What are our indexes doing? Okay, anybody go long in those zones, NQ 11,266? Caitlin, were you able to get any of those trades? Did they match up?
No, I didn't have those ones.
Okay. Scott says gold. Let's go check gold. All right, so gold on a 60-minute chart. Right. Now, there are a couple of things that I'm noticing in these market conditions. Okay. Which I don't know how to interpret just yet because it's part of an ongoing study. And it has to do with the structures. Okay. Now, if we look at, and we've touched on this a few times, have you noticed over the last few days, last week, couple weeks or two, as we've been building into this, this time of year, these holidays that are going on and such, is that the overall structure before the breakout, come over here and we're going to okay, the overall structure has made a pivot low before the breakout. So as we're looking at this structure, what if the pivot point was over on the left-hand side versus the middle or the right-hand side? Okay, what kind of conditions would those help set us up to understand? Okay, because these ones, when they come off of that pivot and it's at the, and it also has to deal with, you know, where were the sellers stepping in on this? Okay, where did the sellers step in heavily? Did they step in heavily on the left side of the structure, or did they step in heavily on the right side of the structure? Okay, now I'm bringing that up because it's obvious that these market conditions have been a little more difficult for trading. Okay, and is it because that pivot low, you know, it has a lot to do with that structure? Okay, we'll talk more about that in our Mastering the Charts recap and review to see how that plays out. Now look at gold is pushing higher, 1655. Does anybody have a leg base on here before? A little far away. At least the first one is 1642. And there's another one that's potentially forming right now. Okay, on that small time frame, which would alleviate some of the risk on that. Okay. Anybody stay in their trades for Russell? Okay, we just broke the Globex high, still trying to finish that pocket of points and coming up into those that dead, well, still in the dead space, supply zone, sell territory within that dead space. Okay. S&P still holding. Look at the stocks. We got 12 Dow stocks positive, 5 negative, 7 times 2. We're still oversold. Futures are oversold relative to cash. Goldman Sachs getting a nice rebound off of this area. IBM starting to come into play. Watch the time. Apple still holding back the market, while Meta is moving things a little bit higher. Need some help from Microsoft. But Microsoft's in that position where we could soon see a breakout to the upside here above that 236. And Google helping out with Meta and Amazon. So our internet related Meta, Amazon, Google showing some strength. We're going to need to see some help from Tesla, Apple, and Microsoft to see if this is going to continue. And keep in mind, this is a supply zone within a small time frame sell territory, but that is inside that dead space, and a pocket of points is just above that. Okay. So if I were to be looking for a target today, I would be looking for about 11,569 move to the upside. Okay. Slowly starting to dig in there. Okay, so got nat gas, still waiting. Gold, still waiting for that second leg base, Anybody taking that breakout? We're already up 21 points, so that's why I was hesitating to take that breakout. Can go further, okay, but I was just hesitating a little bit. Waiting for that next leg base group of candles. You know, one thing trading live in front of students is that you do have to stick to your rules. So we have a nice little breakout, and look at prices breaking out into. Okay, nice little pocket of points. The sell territory, so we start seeing some resistance around 1664.90. So if you're looking at a short-term breakout, because price is that much higher, there may be some potential resistance coming in right about that 1664 area. Okay, but keep in mind, it is a pocket of points. We do have resistance and we have support. So technically there could be as well kind of that dead space in there. Okay. Just want to, get as much information, because once we start revealing what these structures do, okay, whether the pivot is to the right side of the structure or it is to the left side of the structure, say that 3 times fast. We have to acknowledge that, and then we will start to choose which of these structures meet the best criteria for your style of trading. Okay. But one thing we have identified is that price has broken above that area, and we have a buy territory in place now. Okay. So should price break out, find us some sellers, come back down, we'll look for the buyers on the other side of that. Okay. All right, crude oil holding on. Open range breakout right there. Looking a break above $80.23, we'd be looking for $80.76, $81.67, but that would be a breakout on the larger time frame. So there could be a much bigger move once price gets above that $80.40, which is the that resistance level. Yeah, good observation, Scott. Tick charts. All right, so let's come back down to tick charts to see if there's any momentum potential coming up. We have about 9 minutes before the top of the hour. We now have a resistance level. So it looks like we're going to get that little momentum breakout here. Okay, we don't yet have a buy territory, but we do have a leg base group of candles. Stop loss at 306. Okay, looking at that breakout. Now, what I'd like to cover also in the Mastering the Charts recap and review today is, how do we dig ourselves out of a hole? If we've done some damage to our account over the last few days with these markets, how do we dig ourselves out and get our discipline back? Okay. And part of that can be just taking small time frame trades. Okay. So I'll cover this a little bit more in the next in our next session. But taking these breakout trades and setting up your matrix to take hold of when price breaks at 11,355.75, what's the average move above that? 5 ticks, 3 ticks, 10 ticks, okay? And look to have your matrix set up to where you're capturing anywhere from $50 to $100 on these little pops, okay? And call that kind of an active income type trade. But the important part about having active income trade setups is recognizing where these little breakout areas are and taking them profit quickly. You may miss out on some big runs and have to be waiting quite a bit. So if that's your style and you're okay with that, then perfect. Okay. So we got NQ. We have some larger time frame areas. So that's, we do have it. Two little areas here. Yeah, so that breakout trade may be very short-lived. And that's, I'm looking right across here, this little cell territory. We got 6 minutes before the top of the hour. And let's go above this area. Yeah, once we get above that, it's going to be a little choppy until we get up into see, I'm still taking the time to illustrate this out, not only for yourself, or not only for you, but just for myself, okay? I've got that resistance going right in, so that's almost a trap condition right there. Okay, so we do have that area as a potential breakout, but if you're not taking quick profits on that, chances are you may get whacked right there. Okay, but we've hit that area several times. Okay. All right, so we need a new area of and ways to get into the trade. So if we're going to lean towards taking a short trade to the downside, we now have our 3 touches. The markets now have created pretty much a dead space right in the middle there. There have been a lot of fake out breakouts, yeah. But have you noticed that they were more fake outs to the downside yesterday versus fake outs to the upside? Or maybe just a little of both. Russell making its way up there. Okay. What time it? So we're 3 minutes away. Okay, so as we talked about this earlier, okay, if price arrives early into the sell territory, okay, then I will kind of wait it out. If it arrives on time, actually, I already have an order out there to sell that. Pretty good there. And it's coming right up to the 10 o'clock reversal. Okay. Hold your breath, right? Now, did we have any upcoming economic reports coming out at 10 o'clock? I guess we should be able to answer that pretty quickly. We got Fed chairman starting to speak. We got pending home sales, which should just blow out the numbers. Okay, they already said it was going to be good. Okay. Start to rely on, I mean, this information that Caitlin is putting together for us each morning is very high quality information. It's how we understand and engage our trading day. Okay. So can't stress that enough. All right, so we're not there yet. We're about 1 minute away from a 10 o'clock reversal. We may see a little heat on the trade as price kind of waits for that 10 o'clock. If it pulls back slightly, we might see price move through that depending on what the new home sales numbers are. Now, if you're profitable on the trade, you may want to step aside for the economic report. These are all choices that you have to make. Okay. Now, I do anticipate pending home sales to be higher because of the interest rate increase. Everybody's trying to lock in that interest rate, and there's going to be even if they're refinancing, it's going to be a pending home sale. Okay. They're trying to lock in these lower rates and take some of that equity out of their property. Yeah, I agree with you, Terry. She does a great job. All right, so net gas just hanging out. Gold got a little pop, little pullback. Okay, just working its way into that. Basically, there's a dead space and a pocket of points as well on gold, and we'll start to see if it's going to play through that. Just keep an eye on what the structure is there. Okay. NQ, we've got it's 10 a.m. We've got the reversal. We've got economic reports. Okay. There could be a break to the downside in context with the higher time frame trend. There could be a breakout to the upside going into that sell territory. Okay. Up. I just got filled on Russell, so net was $150 on that trade, okay? Okay, S&P starting to do the same thing. And for a lot of reasons, I'm trying to stay in, even if it's just one micro. Okay, and that was tough yesterday because I was up really big on the NQ trade and then it came all the way back, which drove me nuts. That little drop, I mean, this whole grind up, I had gotten in about the 11,253 area, took it all the way up, and then all of a sudden, right after March close, it just wham, wham, stopped me out. And then I looked to get back in. Yeah. Your 1 minute zone on the NQ in a sell territory. Okay, there are some sellers still sitting there. 11,361. Okay. That wasn't, let's see, 11,441, 11,498. Okay, let's put that on there for a moment. So if you watch what I'm doing here, I just put using a Fibonacci line, I took all the other Fibonacci stuff off there. Okay. Yeah, and let's type in the numbers for sell territory 11,441. Okay, so recognize where that supply zone is within the pocket of points. Okay, and inside the dead space. Okay. This was a high volume zone as well. Okay. Anybody catch some of those? Lower than expected. Interesting. I would have suspected higher. Now, remember what we saw on the tick chart? That zone just above the breakout. So we had that. This is a great example. Okay. So we had that little sell territory. Small or little, they have to be respected. We had two small zones inside that area. Price popped into it, found there were still some more sellers. So there's still potentially sellers up about 11,376. Okay. Potential breakout trade right now to the downside. 11,297. Opposing zone. Yeah, it's kind of tough over here trying to find that. So from the tick chart, we're in a dead space here. We're at support. You could place support and resistance by taking the trade back up through. Okay. Or you can take the breakout to the downside. Okay. I'm just using this as a reference. It has the leg base over here. Okay. So the active income, I have set mine up to about 10 ticks. So what I want to see is these little fake out breakouts. What's that initial move? Let's just say within a couple of candles. Okay, so there are 4 ticks to a point on this particular product. Okay. So there were 10 ticks. Okay, so that's where I'm going to start. So 10 ticks would be what? 2.5 points, $50 on one mini contract. Okay. So we'll work on that as we learn. We'll study it and then we'll look at it and we'll cover that active income. Caitlin, did you get any of your zones?
Mine are still a little bit higher up, actually. But yours
Okay.
are working out pretty good.
Every once in a while, I'll get one right. But that was a good profit for the Russell. Now we still have the potential breakout still up into, finishing that out, but I need another way to get back into it. Okay. How many took that Russell trade long this morning from the before we started the session, taking the breakout? And for the Russell, let's see where we at, 1688, 1697. Okay, so that was that was also a prep screen zone, wasn't it? Now, I would strongly encourage you to document this as much as possible for your own belief system. Okay. This was a prep screen zone, and mine's off just a little bit, as you'll see. Pointed it out over here. We got that 1688, 1697. We had the economic report, price popped in there, did not violate the stop. Okay, so you can see that that was correlated with that prep screen. Okay. All right, let's see what else. We got YM. Let's get that one out there. We have YM at 29505. 29611. Okay, so we do have some of those supply zones from the prep screen inside these areas here. Okay. Just be aware of that one. Price coming back down to where we had that move up this morning, looking for those zones down in that area, maybe a retest of that area of it. And looking now potentially at another breakout. Oh, go ahead, Kate.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I completely missed the Russell trade. I was keeping an eye on your NASDAQ one, which was working out really well, but just wanted to share something on the Russell that I noticed, whether, to be able to stay in trades longer, whether to get out sooner, is that, as Jeff was mentioning, price rallied up into that sell zone on that 10 o'clock reversal time, is pulling back. But then when I dropped down to the 1 minute time frame, I was able to get more detail of where we had that support level right in here that had been tested once, twice, 3 times, and then broke lower. So if we start to see that, then we may start to see that transition from more of an uptrend on the higher time frames to a transition back to a downtrend on the smaller time frames. Because now we've actually formed the sell territory as price left that zone from the prep screen. So keep that in mind, price coming back into it. I was having a hard time finding the leg base group of candles though, so I didn't take the breakout trade to the downside. The only thing right now is where we have the green candle going up and then the red candle closing within the body. But ideally, you'd want to turn the time frame down maybe to a tick chart to be able to find that leg base group of candles in that area. But just a nice little picture where if you miss the zone entry, you can always turn the time frame up or turn the time frame down to look for ways to splice in, and in this case, looking for that breakout trade to the downside. Just wanted to showcase that one, but yeah, NASDAQ's been doing pretty good too.
Yes, it has. Great job on the prep screen.
Yeah,
You mean this stuff actually works, huh?
I think so. I'll pass it back over to you.
All right, so bringing up S&P back on a tick chart, we have a new level of resistance up in this range. I also want to point out a couple of other little things that I've been noticing, okay, as far as the structures go, okay, is here we had sellers step in several times and it popped above, took the sellers out, and then came back down below to find the buyers, okay. And here we have a leg base group of candles. So if they want to come back a little bit, if they want to come back and find the buyers after taking out the sellers, what does this really mean for us? Because we've been seeing several of these little trades right here where nice resistance pop up and then price came right back down, okay? It was like they were really searching for the sellers and then coming look for the buyers. So there's a lot more of that activity. So I guess what I'm pointing out here is when we get that breakout, okay, above that, then it comes back down and finds the buy territory, or finds a demand zone. What happens to the left-hand side of the chart? What has been happening? Is this a very easy, smooth move back to the upside, or is it still choppy around this area as it's building accumulation? Okay. All right, so we have another short opportunity on the NQ if price breaks below 11,267. As we're starting to watch the picture develop here, we can also see that we have right across the top here, we're starting to form a resistance area. But it's only got 2 touches at the moment. Okay. So I need to have 3, or you could stretch down your zone, something like that. If you did that, that's okay as well. It's just that now that would be a place where you're going to look to take a breakout. Okay. No right way or wrong way about it. It's how big do you like your, how's that symmetry work for you? Okay. So a breakout above 11,002, or sorry, to 11,323. You'd look for the leg base, and you would also recognize that that sudden drop right there, there's a pocket of points where price could easily move back up to that 11,376. Okay. All right. And Fed speaking now. Let's take a look at the other equity indexes. Okay. So the NASDAQ 1 minute zone that we had there has worked. Price went very deep into it. The sell territory is still there, but there's no zone anymore. Okay. Or it would be a second touch of that. Now, keep in mind, as we look at this zone on a 15-minute chart, the leg candle leaving is bigger. This often means the zone can be used twice. And the second time it can go pretty deep into the zone. Okay. Well, I'm going to leave that one on there just to keep it. Okay. A lot of information on the chart, just not a lot of trading opportunities at the moment. Okay. So let's jump out and look at a couple of commodities. We had gold still working on that breakout. Okay. If you look at the average true range on gold, you may see that it was at the extended side of this. If you put Bollinger Bands on it, especially on a 60-minute chart, this move up may show that price is outside the bands. Nope, I don't have it on there. Okay. Crude oil resuming to move back to the upside, especially from the open range breakout trade. Okay. Breaking above $80.23. Now we're looking for 80.76. Notice what the bigger picture is doing. Okay, we got that fresh accumulation of orders, and look what's on the other side of that fresh accumulation of orders. On a bigger time frame, we still have that pocket of points to come into play. Okay. And of course, then we'd be looking for a much bigger accumulation. And our next breakout area. Now, taking out some of these smaller resistance areas, and I like to see if we break 2 of them, then the trend has definitely changed. Okay. So a break above $80.40 and then another break above 86.71, we would definitely start to challenge whether the trend has changed at that point. Okay. So price has not reached a place to be a buyer just yet. And looks like NASDAQ, S&P, and Dow are still on the move. And we're just waiting for the Russell to see if it's going to create us another opportunity to get into the trade. The tick chart, also want to explore this. Notice the first little initial move right here. Okay. We'll use some of this information going into the mastering the charts recap and review. And I just want to take that little move right there. I want to see how many points it is. Eight points. Okay. So 8 points, 4 ticks, that's 32 ticks right there. Okay. So an 8-point move, $20 a point. We're looking pretty good. Or $2 a point. Okay. Price going into the pocket of points. Okay. So these little breakout trades, and when price comes back down to or into a demand or supply area, they can often give us these little push, little areas where we're going to see stops being taken out. Now, we're going to incorporate that into an active income strategy. And we'll do that together in that class in a little bit. Okay. Wheat. Oh my gosh. Wheat did not have a good setup for me this morning. Other than the larger time frame, it's still underway. We did have corn and soybeans, so corn did come back down to the buy territory, the zone within it. Okay, and has a nice little move out of that. So let's see, soybeans. Yeah, soybeans was on the smaller time frame. Still looking for that zone within the buy territory. But it did make the appearance that we were looking at a fresh accumulation of orders, but then price did bounce up. And now it's come back into it. Okay, like one of those little fake out, breakout type thing. Okay. So now we have to kind of rebuild that. Let's jump and look at copper. Oh, hey. All right, we've got a couple of little levels. First resistance area that I'm spotting right here that has 3 touches. Okay, and then we noticed that there was a smaller one right in this area here. And we have a support over here. So as I'm walking through this, notice what I'm going after first. I want to find where the sellers and buyers had the battle. Okay. Now we're in between and we're going through that dead space. I'm gathering information about where I'm going to be looking for an opportunity to make a trade. On this 20-minute time frame here, I can see that there's a breakout potential, and look over to the left, I see that there is a large pocket of points. So as I gather more information, I want to see that pocket of points, and it's also going into another dead space. Up into another resistance area. Okay. And we do have that as a sell territory, but it is also, because of resistance and support, the area can be used up. So I would also see the zone right up in this range here. So down below, we have a brand new fresh accumulation of orders. A really good example of having a price break a support, find that fresh accumulation of orders just below that support, and now having that breakout. So this is our first buy territory below that support. And we'd look for our zones. We made a higher low. We'd start dropping down the time frame, look for that zone just below the breakout. Right. And then, of course, before taking the breakout trade, we would be looking for the leg base group of candles here. Okay. So a lot of upside potential on copper as things come back into play. Okay, so let's take a quick look at our equity indexes. And it looks like the Russell is now pushing through that area. So we're learning a lot about the dead space and the pocket of points, and that it's not always just a straight line through these areas. Okay. So we do need our higher time frame pictures, okay, to see, you know, and help manage expectations as price works its way through that. Right. Do we have another setup on the Dow? Okay, looks like we have a resistance level on the Dow. Seen the sellers come in several times this morning. Let's see if they've taken them out. I've dropped down to a 3-minute chart. And recognizing where we're at. So we got a break of that Globex high, 29,407. Going right up to 29,505. Man, that's a 100-point move there. Okay. 407. Oof. Stops a little far away though. Three, 3, 8. And we'll look for 29,505. Okay, so that trade's set up. Order filled. Now we just need the stocks to come behind it. Okay. S&P still doing pretty good. Still holding on to that one. Target 3708. NQ taking out the Globex high. 11,441. Profit target. Keep an eye on that zone inside that dead space, and that pocket of points is still going to the other side. Okay. All right. Any questions before we wrap it up? Everybody have all their zones marked? Yeah, that's a good comment there, Terry. And if we are going too fast, you guys all have permission just to say, hey, slow down a little bit. Okay, go back to that chart. Please ask those questions. You know, right now, sometimes we just assume that you guys are keeping up. And if we're going too fast, we definitely want to slow down. Okay. All right, Caitlin, I'm going to pass it over to you, do the little wrap up, and then we'll jump over into the mastering the charts, recap and review after that in about an hour.
Wonderful. So yeah, just recapping, oil was keeping an eye on it. We did have our next sell zone on the 1-minute time frame. Looks like it just missed me by a little bit at 80 point, looks like 78. So I was looking at that 1 minute zone, but then also some of these zones that are a little bit higher up as well. Higher time frame, we can see that this is where we had our sell territory. This one we're getting a bounce. I would say as far as staying in it longer term, we'd be looking at the ones that are located within this larger time frame sell territory. So recapping, again, just to get the recap screen, I take the prep screen, populate everything in there, and then we'll update all the ones that have either hit, triggered, I've gone through them, and I'll walk you through that with you guys. So S&P, still waiting for price to come up into our 4 minute sell zone. That's going to be 3698.5. Stop at 3713.5. And that's going to be where we had our support area here. And we had our zone that was formed on higher volume during yesterday's regular trading session, I believe after our live trading room. So keep an eye on that one, going to be more of a trend trade, looking for those short trades in the context of a downtrend. Buy territory still a little bit further away, since this is going to be more of a pivot point versus a zone. Going over to NASDAQ, let's see. So NASDAQ, our buy zone did hit. So that was this one down here at 11,155. We can see price dip down into it and then had this big move out of there. So when you're doing your marking your zones, make sure you're looking left and seeing, why did I choose this zone, or why did we look at this one? What was the location of it? And then ultimately seeing how price changed direction out of there. We just want to rinse and repeat that process each time where we're looking for zones in a very specific location. So this one has been tested. We're going to look for the next fresh one below that one. So I'm going to delete that for now. Sell zone still fresh, waiting for price to come up into our 3 minute zone here. Also formed on high volume during yesterday's regular trading session, 11,441.5. Stop at 11,498. Now to find our next target price on NASDAQ, I'm going to go out to the daily chart just to see where we're at. Because once we break below this low, there's not a whole lot in the way. So we start getting down here. So I would look within potentially this area of consolidation where we could see price rallied up, base sideways. We can see that's been acting as support a few times here. So I'd use this as the next target price. You can see price came down once, twice, 3, 4 times. So I'd be anticipating there to be still some unfilled orders at this point where we can see evidence of price coming into it and using up those orders several times already. That next target price is going to be down here, 10,950.75. Target down to 10,290.25. But overall, just using that as a target price, since I'm looking to stay with this downtrend on the higher time frames and looking for ways to splice in to those short setups with our sell zones.
Crude oil just broke out to the upside, 80.76, which was our supply zone there.
Let's see, 10 minutes. There we go. So it's using up all those orders. Once we get above that 81.02 mark, you see very strong move to the upside. We really have a pocket of points up until we get to our sell territory over here. So little ways to go, a couple speed bumps. We can see where price consolidated in here, but then overall looking at this area where we have our sell territory to start looking for our next areas of sell zones. All right, Russell, let's take a look, 10-minute time frame. Russell, we got that bounce out of there. Looks like we've taken out that 3-minute. Any of you guys get the Russell trade for that bounce out of there? Nice 1-to-1 move down. So let's find our next sell zone. All right, so that's going to be the 2-minute one up a little higher, 1738.9. Two-minute with our stop at 1746.8. And then lastly, going over to the Dow. Still a little ways to go up until we get to our 4-minute zone here. That's going to be 29,505. Stop at 29,611. And then again, buy zone is going to be a little bit further away. Target price 28,445, which is going to be below this pivot point here. All right, so we made a couple updates. Make sure you screenshot this. You're marking and updating your zones on your charts as well, and just keep an eye on them. And also just understanding, where we're looking as far as location, where these zones created on high volume versus low volume, and just monitoring them after our sessions end. All right, anything else that you'd like to add, Jeff?
Yeah, gold is still continuing to move. Did anybody get into the YM trade? It's now approaching that 29,505. It's still a few more points away from it. Well, that's the only thing I don't like about that Thinkorswim. That just drives me batty when you update a chart.
Yeah, the glitching that it does.
Yeah, like head going back and forth.
I know. I've called and they can't fix it.
Anybody take that trade? That breakout?
Which one? The short trade or gold?
Well, we got the Dow. We placed that trade and we took the trade long at 29,407. And we're looking for that first target up there at 29,505.
Yeah, so we could use this, if we took the breakout here, that's where you'd want to, I think you have the leg base group of candles below. It's where, our profit potential is getting a little bit more limited, or if you're taking a short trade here and we have our 1-minute zone just below that last breakout to the upside, then taking a short trade, we're just not going to have as much profit potential since we had a recent zone that was formed just below down in here. Let's say just be cautious with the short trades when you see this on the smaller time frames and forming, those buy territories as prices moving higher. Those short trades may also be shorter lived. So keep that in mind. We just formed this new buy territory, taking that breakout to the upside, so then taking that short trade. Just want to be cautious as price comes back into this buy territory. Nice job, Scott. Took profits. A little over 50 points. Very nice. All right. Should we call it a wrap?
Yeah, let's wrap this up. I'll see all you guys over in Mastering the Charts Recap and Review. We'll see you in about 45 minutes or so. Okay.
All right.
Good day.
See you guys over there.